Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Hola, Yelka.
Hola, Bárbara. Hello.
All right. I'm Jeremy. I'm Office of Public Affairs. Corellia, if you've worked with Corellia in the past, she usually is the one who manages this meeting, but she is no longer with our office. So she is taking another job, but she has told me lots of good things about our interpreter services. So thank you both for joining tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. I think Regina's going to join us here in a minute to go over a few things, but the fact that you all are in the room is good. Let's see. Hi, Leslie.
Okay, so one thing we haven't been, I don't know, but I don't know you, Yelka, but I haven't been assigned as an interpreter yet, but I see the
No, me neither.
interpretation icon though.
Yes, I have not been assigned yet.
Please. I put your names in there ahead of time, but it says you're not in there. Let me see if I can add you here. All right, Barbara, you should be assigned. Okay, and Yelka, you should also be assigned now. Are you both see yourselves as assigned? Okay. Oops. My cat has decided to join. Don't need him.
Hey, Jeremy, thanks for letting me in. I'm joining both computer and phone.
Okay. Hey, Leslie. Hi, Regina.
I'm muted. Hell, there I am. Hey there. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
So far, so good. Thank you.
Good.
Gotta start with thank you.
I think we're set for the interpretation. Both of our interpreters are here. Thank you to Barbara and Yelka. And
Oh, perfect.
they have both been assigned their roles, so I think we are good to go from the administrative end for the interpretation piece.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I am going to, while I have a few, oh, Grillia. Oh, not Grillia. Leslie. You see, habits die hard, Jeremy. Habits die hard.
I know. I'm missing her too. Trust me.
Oh my gosh. Leslie, you know, I don't know the extent that we're going to need it, but you know how you put up the agenda at one point in the past?
Yes, ma'am. I'll format it real quick to do.
Would you be able to? That would be amazing.
Yes, ma'am. I'll do it right now.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen, just to kind of get that part going. Let's see. Because I think we may be the only ones sharing our screen tonight. Let's see. Please, host disable. Oh, okay. All right, just wait a second. Okay. Okay. Oh, Jerry, you may have to give me power, Jeremy.
It shows that you can, but let me try one other. Let me try a different setting. All right, try that. Says anybody can share now.
Let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, now let me find it. Maybe I'll turn my video off while I'm looking. Yeah. I think it's this one. Okay, now let's try share. Let's see if that does it. Holy cow, it does. But let me ask you a question. Do you see my participants on the left side or right side?
The left side and the right side. The left side is in English, the right side is in Spanish. And it's the,
Okay, so you
recommendation
don't
want to
see that box that has the participants in the kind of up and down move.
No, I don't see that.
Good, but let me get rid of it because that's going to cause me problems. So good, you see that. Let me try to synchronize my scrolling. That works. Oh boy, then it gets weird, but good enough. Whoa, 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 D4. Why isn't this one? Oh, because it's down there. I'm gonna have to. No, not that one. Oh, not. Oh, I gotta move this little box. Sorry. I'm trying to. There it is. I'm making sure I know where I need to touch to. Okay, okay. Oh boy. That's a lot. Let me just line up D and start there. I'll stop in a second. All right, it'll have to be what it be. So I'm gonna stop sharing and just go on the fly. Because the English and Spanish don't line up always. So I'm gonna have to, because Spanish, the language is a little longer sometimes to say similar things. So
Right.
anywho, what else?
So Regina, at the beginning of the meeting, am I saying the first words or is the co-chair gonna say hello before I jump into the script?
You start everything off, and then you turn it over to the co-chairs.
Got it.
And let's see, one of the, what else? I think that's really gonna be, I've got everything crossed. I don't know that there will be too much different with this meeting than with prior meetings. I don't anticipate anything being different. It's gonna be a lot of conversation at this particular meeting.
Okay.
No special presentations or anything like that. We typically begin letting people in. Well, whenever Tom or the coach, Tom Fleetwood or the co-chairs, Jeremy, are Soledad Partida, Soledad, and Eric Maboracek, or it may show as Roderick or Eric Maboracek. Those are the two co-chairs. but then we always let Tom Fleetwood, Teresa Lepe, and who am I missing, Leslie, in early whenever they join?
I think you have it covered. If you see Chris Leonard, somebody internal like that, otherwise Tom and Teresa, yourself are the key people.
And then we can begin letting everybody in at about 6:25. Everybody else at 6:25. Because I believe we're recording, so we want to kind of keep it closed for now.
Correct.
Any questions or concerns from anybody else?
Don't think so. So after, I guess for the interpreter, so I'm going to read a script that in English, and then I think you all are going to read, convey that same script in Spanish. Is that correct? Before I turn on the translation feature?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm. I think the translation feature is gone. I don't see me as an
It's gone.
interpreter.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
it's gone.
Yeah, I've turned it off for now. I will turn it on so right as the meeting begins, I will just read a script explaining how the translation feature works, and then you all can translate that into Spanish. And then after you finish your Spanish translation of my quick message, then I will turn on the interpretation feature again. So those who want to listen in Spanish can then switch over to the channel. So I did turn it off momentarily until the meeting begins.
Okay. Just one thing for the speakers. Just please don't speak too fast because we're about 1 or 2 sentences behind of your speech. So if you speak too fast, then we won't be able to catch the other sentences, and we don't want to miss important information. It's just to be careful when you speak, so not too fast, and we will do our best.
That's all we ask. Thank you. And yes,
Thank
my script at the beginning does say, to ensure that this meeting is effectively interpreted, we ask that all presenters and speakers speak clearly and slowly to allow interpreters to deliver the message in Spanish. Wording.
That's great. That will help a lot. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So yeah, after I read that script, as I said, then I'll go ahead and turn the interpretation feature back on, and rooms will pop back up.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Boy, how did it get to be 6:15 already?
Well, at least this is the last one. Hopefully, like you said, we'll see how it goes, but fingers
Everybody
crossed.
cross your fingers and your legs and your arms and your
Yep.
eyes and toes, because it may be, I hope it is, but there are some glitches potentially, so we'll see.
Okay.
Good news, though, is that if it's not the last meeting is already on everybody's calendar as July 25th, I believe. But we're hoping that we're going to be able to come to a vote tonight, but we'll see.
Okay.
It could get messy there when it comes to voting, so we'll see.
That date is correct. I'm going to share my screen real quick to make sure you guys can see the agenda. So hold on.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, interpreters. Thank you so very much. What a journey.
You're welcome.
Got it.
Yep, I see it. Looks good.
There you go. Slide view. Thank you.
Yep, easier to see that way.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Let's see if anybody's sending me emails. Uh-oh.
Regina, we've got somebody in the waiting room now. Do you want me to go ahead and admit them now, or do you want me to wait till 6:25 to start letting people in?
Is it a staff? Who is that person?
Eric Mirabota?
Yep, he's a co-chair. He can come in. Please let him in. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Yep.
Hi, Eric.
Hello, can you hear me okay? All right.
Loud and clear. Sounds great.
Yeah, just-
A couple administrative things. I sent a revised attendance voting tracking sheet just so that you two could have the latest membership list, because you know we updated it since Friday. So I sent that to you guys via email, a clean version, so you would have that.
Okay, yeah, I noticed in the script,
Mhm.
so we still have the 28 voting members on the script, so it's now 24. So it's
Yeah,
not 24,
hopefully,
24
yeah.
members?
I sent a revised script as well. Did it still list 28? I hope it didn't. But yeah, it's 24 voting members.
Okay, 24 and 13 quorum, right?
Yeah, so 13 for a quorum to hold a vote. And
Okay.
the vote, as you know, will pass with a simple majority of those voting members
Okay.
who vote in the affirmative, so.
So 7,
Well, it depends. For example, if there are only
13, yeah.
13 members, 7
Right.
is great. But
Okay.
if there are 15 people, 16 people in attendance, we need to have a simple majority of the
Okay.
16.
Okay.
And then what else? Also, the revised co-chair script has the revised shorter motion that we shared with Mark Biani.
Yeah, I have that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Any other logistics? I don't know if you've had an opportunity to notice that Mary Payton sent in late today.
I saw that, yeah.
Comments.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, but I'm not sure if Tom has reached out to you or you and Soledad, or if anybody, it came in at like 4:30 or so.
No, nobody's reached out.
Yeah.
So you'll have the slides for section D, is that right?
Yeah, what I'm
Okay.
gonna do is put up the document, the Spanish and English version side by
Okay.
side, so
Okay.
that we can walk through all of the changes, including the new language that Soledad suggested we add for D4 and the other recommendations in the co-chair script.
Right, so on that section, the new recommendations, she'll do that? Okay,
I believe so, because it is a direct result of her conversations with the residents. And I have those red line comments within the document as well. So I'll go to C8, and I believe it was new B9 and new C8
okay. Well, when
when
she,
appropriate.
I guess when she logs on, we'll just let her know she's gonna take that part. Okay,
Okay, yeah, and on the co-chair script, I carved out a separate place in the script to focus on those new recommendations.
okay.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go off camera.
Okay,
And
I'll
we're
do that
at
as well while we're
6:20.
waiting.
Okay. And Commissioner Maborchek, I wanted to introduce you to Jeremy Lasich. He is he was Grilla Steel supervisor, and he is taking over the OPA duties of sort of setting the stage with the language translation. So I wanted you two to meet.
All right. Hi,
Mayor,
welcome.
nice to meet you.
Thank you for your help.
Yep, no problem.
And it'll be the same format, Commissioner Maborchek, where he sort of sets the stage and then turns it over to you all.
Okay, so I guess in this case, the Soledad.
Oh, right, Soledad will be the
Yeah,
person.
Soledad will be running this one. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So I guess we'll wait for a few minutes for the others to log on.
Yeah, we were gonna let everybody open up the floor for all to join at about 6:25, but I haven't seen Soledad or Tom yet. They're usually on by now.
Right, okay. All right, well, I'll just go offline for a second and
Okay.
then I'll rejoin in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you. Uh-oh, chat, something's in the chat. Let's see. Oh, nice. I love it. Thank you, Jeremy. I'm gonna go on mute too.
Hi, Soledad. Hey, Soledad. Just we were talking about a clarification. So you're going to talk about the proposed new recommendations right after section D.
Looks like she's still on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. In Soledad, Eric pointed out an oversight that I have in the co-chair script. Although I sent you the spreadsheet with the list of the updated voting membership, but I think in the co-chair script, I did not update because we now have 24 voting members.
Yes,
So I didn't catch that in the.
That's
in the
okay.
Script.
I was going to ask you because
Yes.
we took out a few people.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so 24 is the right number.
Yes.
Got it.
And Soledad, you're the one going over the proposed new recommendations on B9 and C8,
Yes.
because I think those were a result of the discussions you had, or you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right.
And I'll show them on the screen while you do that, when you get to that section.
Yeah, we don't have a PowerPoint, right?
No, but I will use the working document. We have an English and Spanish version side by side.
Okay.
I'm going to go off camera because we're at 6:27.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's 6:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Manufactured Housing Task Force. This is a bilingual meeting. To ensure that this meeting is effectively interpreted, we ask that all presenters and speakers speak clearly and slowly to allow interpreters to deliver the message in Spanish or English. To access the interpretation function, find the interpretation icon at the bottom of the screen, which is displayed as a global icon. You will then select your preferred language. You can also mute the original audio to avoid hearing the other language at the same time, which can be very distracting. This message will now be shared in Spanish.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos al equipo de trabajo, a la reunión del equipo de trabajo de viviendas prefabricadas. Esta es una reunión bilingüe y para asegurarnos de que esta reunión sea interpretada eficientemente, les pedimos a los presentadores y oradores hablar claramente y despacio para permitirles a los intérpretes proporcionar el mensaje en español o en inglés. Para obtener acceso a la función de interpretación, por favor, buscar el icono de interpretación en la parte de abajo de la pantalla. Está en forma de icono de un globo. Van a seleccionar su idioma de preferencia y también pueden poner en silencio el audio original para evitar escuchar el otro idioma al mismo tiempo, que puede ser muy confuso. Gracias.
And the interpretation feature has now been turned on, so you can select Spanish if you would like, and I will turn it over to Soledad and Eric.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Manufactured Housing Task Force meeting of Monday, June 27. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA to the Manufactured Housing Task Force, we need to make certain findings and determination for the record. As always, we apologize in advance and thank you for your patience. My name is Soledad Portilla, one of the co-chairs of the Manufactured Housing Task Force. To officially begin this meeting, and because each voting member of the task force is participating in the meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of voting members is participating and that each voting member's voice may be heard by all voting members. Accordingly, I am going to conduct a roll call and ask that each task force voting member participating in the meeting state your name and the location from which you are participating. Following the roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. I'm going to start with the co-chair of the task force, Eric Maribojok.
Eric Maribojek, calling from Arlington, Virginia.
Thank you, Eric. Dan Lagana.
Dan Lagana, Lee District Planning Commissioner, calling from my home in Lee District.
Thank you. Elizabeth Lardner. I think she let us know she wasn't going to be attending. Carla Claude. Adela Barrera. Maybe. Kenny Medrano. Kathy Clement.
Kathy Clement from Alexandria, Virginia.
Thank you, Kathy. Ana Romero. Victor Rivera. Carlos Carrero. James Turner. Chris Ebert. Josie Valdez, Margaret Johnson,
Hi, this is Mark Johnson in Chantilly, Virginia.
thank you. Ronnie Robbins,
Ronnie Robbins in Bethesda, Maryland.
thank you. Jill Norcross,
Hi, Jill Norcross in Reston, Virginia.
thank you, Jill. Ava Gwen,
Eva Nguyen in McLean, Virginia.
thank you. Rick Edson, Ken Macmillan, Mark Vianney,
Mark Vianney, calling from my home in the Mount Vernon district.
thank you, Mark. Stuart Kane, David Levine,
David Levine, calling from my home in the city of Alexandria.
thank you. John Boylan, Adela Barrera, I know you're there. Can we hear your voice? Can you unmute?
Adela Barrera, Audubon, Alexandria, Virginia.
Gracias. Regina, can you confirm we have quorum? I see Carla connecting to audio.
Madam Chairman, at the moment we have 11, but I have not yet counted Carla.
Carla, Claude.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Okay, can you say your name and state where you're calling from?
Okay, I'm Carla Clure. I live in Audubon community.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, we have 12 voting members.
And we need
13.
13. Should we wait or should we continue and see if anybody joins, but when we need the vote?
I would continue. You need quorum for a meeting, for action. And like all of us who know people who aren't participating should probably be texting them and trying to scare them into quorum.
Okay, so at this point, I will pass the gavel to Eric so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion.
I have the gavel.
Thank you. I move that each voting member's voice may be adequately heard by each other voting member of the Manufactured Housing Task Force.
I have a motion. Does anybody second it?
Well, we can't sorry, point of
take
order.
action,
We can't do this because we don't have a quorum. So, sorry, this is Dan Lagana, the lead district planning commissioner. In order to take what Mark was saying is that following parliamentary procedure, you would need a quorum to conduct any official business. So you can conduct, you could probably speak freely, if you will, or run a general discussion, but you can't engage in any business. And
right.
I'd recommend that we probably postpone substantive discussion until we had a quorum anyway. So,
thank you, Dan. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Was we can talk amongst ourselves. We can't take actions because we don't have a quorum, and that everybody, if you should be texting people who are on this committee to try and scare them. See if we can scare ourselves up a quorum. Do we know who is not here?
Yes.
Can we say who they are so we can maybe those of us who know may be able to poke them and prod them and get them on the committee meeting?
I'm calling Mr. Boylan now.
And just to go through the list of folks who have not been accounted for just yet: Kenny Mendrano Marquez, Anna Romero de Martinez, Victor Rivera, Carlos Guerrero, I apologize, James Turner, Chris Ebert, Josie Valdez, Rick Edson, Ken McMillan, and John Boylan.
With the permission
One
of
moment, please.
with the permission of the chair, may attending members of the public just make informal procedural inquiries? Since you're stalled in any official action.
Sure.
I have,
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
we have Mr. Ebert is about to get on the call, so please stand
Okay.
by.
Okay, will do.
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Ebert has joined us.
Chris Ebert, can you please state your name and where you're calling from?
Mr. Ebert, you're on mute. Mr. Ebert, you remain on mute. Mr. Ebert.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now hear you. Can you please state your name and where you're calling from?
Sure. Chris Ebert, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, we've also had Kenny
Kenny,
Medrano
yeah,
join.
I saw her. Kenny, can you please state your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kenny Medrano and I'm living in Alexandria, Virginia, in Harmony Place.
Thank you, Kenny. Okay, can you verify we have quorum?
Madam Chairman, we have 14 voting members in attendance. We have a quorum.
Okay, so I'll pass the gavel again to Eric and make the motion again.
Have the gavel.
I move that each voting member's voice may be adequately heard by each other voting member of the Manufactured Task Force.
There's a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
second,
Second from Ronnie Robbins. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those who are opposed, those that are opposed, say nay. And I vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you. Second, having established that each voting member's voice may be heard by every other voting member, we must now establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures, the fact we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe or impracticable for the task force to physically assemble, and that as such, FOIA usual procedures will require the physical assembly of the task force and the physical presence of the public cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that the task force may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public might access this meeting through the meeting link on the Manufactured Housing Task Force page of the Fairfax County website, or by calling one of the Zoom dial-in numbers also posted on the website. It is so moved.
Yeah, there's a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, I think Mark Vianney came first. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Those not in favor, vote nay. And I vote aye, and the motion passes.
Thank you, Eric. Finally, it is next required to establish that the meeting provides for the Manufactured Housing Task Force continuity of operations or the discharge of its lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mark Vianney, second. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Any, those that are not in favor, please vote nay. And I vote aye, and that motion passes, Soledad.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much, everybody, for that. It's always a little cumbersome at the beginning. The second item on the agenda is the review of Section D land use, which was the topic of the previous task force meeting. And for that, I'm gonna pass the gavel to Eric so that he can review the changes that we made on the section based on the feedback we received.
Okay, thank you, Soledad. And I believe we have on the screen the language of the recommendations under Section D, land use. And the words in red are the changes to that language based on discussions from last meeting, as well as comments received between the last meeting and today. So starting off with the overview to Section D, there's a minor change, adding a few words to change some, it's just grammatical change. So please go to the next page. Recommendation D1, show manufactured housing communities on the comprehensive plan map. Changes have been made here to explain why this change is necessary. Clarification to strengthen the importance of manufactured homes, like clearly identifying their locations and focusing on any potential impacts for redevelopment on these sites. So that is the change made to recommendation D1, showing the manufactured housing communities on the comprehensive plan map. Moving on to recommendation D2, now to review and clarify the comprehensive plan, area plan recommendations for manufactured housing communities. Language added at the end. This plan text provides the opportunity to state the goal of preservation explicitly, or if redevelopment is planned, a strategy for achieving the goal of no net loss to replacement options. And following county incentives may also include more than just capital subsidy for financing the development of affordable housing. The county should explore options for rental assistance to ensure preservation of affordability due to a redevelopment. So that was added as a result of discussions from our last meeting. Any comments on the changes to section D2? Recommendation D3.
I have
Yes.
comment.
Oh, yes, Mary, go ahead.
Yes, it seems to put the whole issue of whether a mobile home park will be recommended for preservation or allowed to go to development in the hands of the planning department. And that seems kind of counter to all of the statements made earlier about involving residents and community and engagement and inclusiveness and transparency. I'm confused about the designations of mobile homes. If it's some of our mobile homes are not zoned as mobile home parks. Currently, they're zoned as C8 commercial highway. And that leaves the owner free to sell them for those purposes anyway. It's not clear when you mention mobile home parks, whether that's referring to the current use or the current zoning in some of the recommendations. And then how a mobile home park gets considered for preservation as affordable housing. It's not entirely clear, and it seems to be a task given over to the planning department, which doesn't seem transparent to me. So could someone comment on that and clarify it?
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Tom.
Thank you. If I may, Mary, thank you for your comments here. What I would say about this is that, you know, this is one component of the approach to preservation. But certainly, as you look throughout the document, the Department of Housing and Community Development will be at the table on all of these decisions, and we will also ensure, as we've laid out earlier in the document, that our residents and partners will be fully involved from a participation standpoint, but also from a transparency standpoint. While I certainly understand what you're saying, looking at this recommendation in isolation, seen though in the context of the overall document, I would say that, you know, I certainly, you know, from the standpoint of the housing agency, am confident that that we will be able to participate in the process. Our residents will be able to participate in the process, and we will work hand in glove with the Department of Planning and Development when these issues come up. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
My mother taught me never to sign anything that wasn't in writing. So I would just maybe ask that be clarified somehow in the document. What is the process for residents and advocates to be involved? And does this language refer to the zoning or the physical reality of a mobile home park?
I think to the first point, I'd just like to point out that in section A of this document, where we discussed
outreach,
when we discussed outreach, there is a specific recommendation that not just the landowner, but the residents of a manufactured home park be notified of any redevelopment proposal, either for the property or for adjacent properties, which was a change from before.
Right.
So I think based on that recommendation in section A, I think that goes a step further in ensuring that the residents have a seat at the table when it comes to any redevelopment of the property or of any adjacent property. That's recommendation A3 of the first section.
Excuse me, but I think that's different than whether the property is designated as one that would be promoted as for affordable housing, whether it's going to be developed or not. This recommendation considers, in the D section, considers whether something will be promoted as affordable housing within the zoning code, not whether it actually will be developed.
I think the outreach for one or the other is the same, Mary. I think we're going around the same point.
That would be great. I just ask that that be made explicit.
It's explicit in the document already.
There is also language in section B that encourages communities to work with advocates to preserve their communities if they wish to, with support from the county, as was done with the Harmony Place. So I think there are multiple places in this document where that is supported.
Okay, I disagree, but it doesn't seem to get that. It's different than being encouraged and being notified as to when there's meetings and when there's decisions happening. And when you're not part of that whole information process, it's hard to engage.
Any other questions, comments on these two?
By the chance, any chance that anyone hears me? I'm on the phone.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. For some reason, I'm unable to log into the website, so I'm telephoning in. This is Ken McMillan.
Ken, thank you so much. Okay, we'll note you're here.
Thank you.
So Rick Edson's also on the phone.
I'm sorry?
I think someone also said Rick Edson's on the phone, so it looks like grabbing a lot of the voting members here now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Please. Eric, do you want to continue?
Sure. We are now in section recommendation D3, strengthening the comprehensive plan, policy plan language for manufactured housing communities. Some minor changes here. The appendix has been put in as a actual live link so that people can know what are the guidelines for mobile home retention. And then some just clarifying language at the end that doesn't make a substantial difference. But this is the particular recommendation that says existing manufactured housing communities should be referenced in the plan as stable residential communities with the same protections as any other single-family residential community. Any questions on recommendation D3? Moving on to recommendation D4, consider amendments to the Rmhp zoning district to address non-conforming status of existing manufactured housing communities. This section talks about the new zoning Rmhp zoning district, which is substantially meant for establishing new residential home parks. The last section of this section refers to addressing the need to revise the zoning district to address any constructed porches, decks, or additions that are currently not aligned to the current Rmhp zoning, so that the county may work with manufactured housing unit owners to bring these into conforming status. There is also an addition at the request of a park owner to address the use and location of recreational vehicles in the communities to add to that work. And then a final sentence has been added that the goal of these amendments is to better accommodate and address the needs of manufactured housing communities. to address what's actually the existing realities in the communities and to evaluate them in terms of the new Rmhp zoning. Any comments on recommendation D4?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
What would be the incentive for a mobile home park owner to want to change zoning from commercial, highway commercial to Rmhp?
Mary, this is not the recommendation that talks about the rezoning. This talks about giving the residents a little bit more flexibility on the decks and porches. So amending the zoning ordinance in order for it to be more flexible based on the actual what's built in the communities right now.
I think, Mary, that question is for the next recommendation. So we can,
Okay, I see the number was changed on this one.
yeah, they were flipped around for better. So we'll tackle that as soon as we get through this particular one. Any other comments or suggestions on recommendation D4?
Eric, before we move, I wanted to make sure everybody saw that we added the sentence on the location of RVs in the communities. That was based on feedback we received a little late, but we wanted to address, make sure that we're including the regulations of RVs in manufactured housing communities that are a reality.
Yes, thank you, Soledad. Any comments from the task force on these changes in red? If not, then we move on to the next recommendation, D5, which is working with property owners of manufactured housing communities currently zoned to commercial and industrial districts to consider rezoning to the Rmhp district or possible exception process to address the regulatory issues discussed in D4 above. So I think, Mary, this is where your question, go ahead.
Right. I was wondering what is the incentive for a mobile home park owner to change zoning from commercial to mobile home park, from C8 to Rmhp? When you ask someone to do that, why would they?
If I may, Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Malin from DPD on the line.
Thank you. So if I may, one of the, if you're a commercial zoning and you have a mobile home park, you're a non-conforming use. Mobile home parks are not permitted in the C8 zoning district. So a non-conforming use does come with a lot of limitations on it, in which you'd have more flexibility if you're a mobile home park. For instance, if you're a manufactured home park district, not only can you have manufactured homes in that district, you can also have single family detached dwellings in that district. So you would have a situation that a manufactured home park district owner or renter, if they certainly own the property, could potentially replace their manufactured home with single family detached, tiny house, which would either be considered, could be considered single family detached. You'd also have situations that the district bound is clearly defined in terms of setbacks, and you avoid that non-conformity. The one thing it is unique is manufactured homes are covered to the state code, which allows them to be replaced even though they are non-conforming. And many other situations, if you're a non-conforming use, the ability to remove and replace that is restricted. But the state code does allow for a manufactured home to be replaced, even though it's a non-conforming use. So that's unique there, but there is some more flexibility beyond single-family detached. You could also have other uses that may not be permitted in your commercial district there.
excuse me, this is Ronnie Robbins. Dear co-chairs, may I also
Yes, Ronnie, go ahead.
mention to you that sometimes if you're going for financing, having a non-conforming use or non-conforming structures, which can be issues in obtaining financing. One of the things that I was thinking about when I read this was how the board could potentially incentivize the rezoning to, and I don't know if there's any mobile home parks that are also in residential districts that don't allow mobile home parks. So I think I would just not necessarily say commercial and industrial unless we know all the mobile home parks that we have now are in commercial and industrial. But one of the things that the board can do is by the board's own motion, if there's, I guess, agreement with the property owner that the property owner would like to rezone a mobile home park to mobile home park, and also go ahead and work through, some of the inconsistencies where you have to have waivers of setbacks and distance and all those kinds of things like we went through with the Waples Mobile Home Park. And I'm not an expert on board zone motions. I don't know if Mark may be able to speak to this a little better than me. If there's a way that those kinds of zonings can, by mutual agreement with property owners, deal with some of these non-conforming issues so that they become conforming and don't have to, deal with other, I guess, difficulties related to non-conformities.
Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, that is something that Eric and I will definitely bring up to the board's attention if there's something that they want to consider.
So if I may, real quick, and it's something certainly we've heard this conversation. We've been talking internally as staff. One of the unique issues is with the mobile home park district is, as you mentioned, some of the restrictions on setbacks as well as density. Manufactured home park district is 6 dwelling units per acre, and with the ability for the board to increase it to 9, where some of our non-conforming manufactured home parks are 18 dwelling units per acre. So it's something that would have to, certainly amend the ordinance if the desire is to, to increase the density and potentially allow for waivers and modifications to other provisions that to allow it to rezone into that manufactured home park district. Locations in the floodplains, another particular concerning one as it relates to, some of the areas of Audubon has floodplain, and of course Harmony has a significant amount of floodplain. So those are things we'd have to work through within a particular application, how to best resolve that.
I have a question.
Good.
What are the advantages and the disadvantages of what the young lady just talked about? Do we have a either or situation there, or is there something we need to look into because we are not disclosing a definitive response to that? Anyone? Hello?
Are you referring to Ronnie Robbins' comments?
Yes, not the young man that talked after her, but the young lady that talked before her.
Yeah, I believe she was speaking from the experience of the Waples Mill home park, which is zoned Rmhp. And I believe, if I recall from your presentation, Ronnie, that zoning Rmhp for that particular part came as a part of a redevelopment of part of it into commercial, which is the shopping center in front of it.
What actually happened was a portion of it was zone C8. And so as a trade-off and there was no requirement that we do this, but we've had the opportunity to actually extend the mobile home park by rezoning a portion of it that was zoned R1 to mobile home park. And then another portion of it, which was C8, but really wasn't good commercial property. And what I would say to you, if anyone's zoned for office development right now in a third quality location, having a mobile home park that is conforming to the zoning ordinance is much more of a cash cow than having, a commercial office zoned property in a poor location. So I think twofold, there were many things at Waples Mobile Home Park that we addressed to bring the entire property into conformance with the zoning ordinance. But I think also it could be an incentive if the ordinance is modified, as the gentleman from the county was talking about, to allow for some of these issues, if you will, with the nonconformities. And I think if the board would consider assisting owners through the rezoning process, you may get a positive response. Thank you.
Is that because the Waples has a federal credit union in the front part of their?
Yes, that's correct.
And all the other mobile home parks do not have a commercial property in front or around their locations? Is that what I'm understanding?
I wouldn't speak to the others. I think there are some that have commercial frontage.
Okay, is there an advantage for that? For the commercial property?
To rezone to, yes. For example, a portion of the property may not be suitable for commercial use. And that's what I just said. A portion actually of the old mobile home park is where you now have the Walmart shopping center. It's more not where the credit union is, but where you have the Walmart and the Food Lion the Food Lion that's there. And behind that was a large, originally the parcel was larger, but the backside of that was not at all suitable for commercial use. And so we rezoned it to mobile home park and basically kept the mobile homes that were there and permanently made it mobile home park.
Yeah, I think the answer to the original question was one incentive would be to establish RMHP districts and to trade off for other parts of the property that may be zoned to usable commercial. I guess that's one incentive, among other things that may happen that we don't know of.
I think there's creative ways where everyone can win,
right?
Basically.
Right.
Hey,
Eric, before we move on to the next section, I want to ask if there's any other task force members that have joined that we need to add them to the roll call. I see John raising his hand.
John Boylan from Centerville.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Ken McMillan from
Ken,
Providence.
yeah, we got you.
Okay. So,
Thank you.
Tom Fleetwood?
Yes, sir.
Is there any advantage of doing that commercial thing with them for the advantage that would put the mobile home park at an advantage or a disadvantage, or what's your thinking around that?
I would say, Ken, that, and not being anybody's land use expert, what I would say though is that the language that we've provided for here collectively gives sufficient flexibility to the owners to allow them to explore potential benefits. I think though that trying to go too granular in the language in that respect probably is not the way we want to go, because each one of these situations is different. So that's my 2 cents on that.
You answered my question, so let's not go there. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ken. Moving on to the last recommendation, recommendation D6, affordability analysis. So there's been language added in the front of this section to further define what is meant by affordability analysis. So the Department of Housing and Community Development will determine if manufactured housing community or units within the community are providing housing to low and moderate income households at 60% AMI and below. The goal of the analysis is to identify communities and households that may be adversely impacted by redevelopment and consider possible means to mitigate those impacts. So this is consistent with the recommendations of the Affordable Housing Preservation Task Force for doing an affordability analysis on all affordable rental housing. So that just expands what is meant by affordability analysis. Mark, did you have a comment?
I would just say, I think that's a positive edit. I think that kind of helps. If you're going through this process, you really have to know who's being impacted and how badly, if you're going to propose solutions. This is a good way to handle it.
Yeah. I think this is also consistent with the survey section of our previous recommendations to regularly survey each manufactured home community. So this is kind of in addition to that. Any comments on recommendation D6? If not, I turn it back to somebody.
Mary has her hand up.
Oh, Mary, go ahead, Mary. I didn't see your hand. Apologies.
Yeah, this is a comment maybe on D6, maybe on some other areas, but I'm still concerned that there's no recognition in this whole document that the many of the mobile homeowners have invested their whole savings, their whole life savings into their mobile home unit. And there's really nothing that says they addresses any kind of compensation for them if their unit cannot be sold or moved in the case of development. And I think that's a really bad oversight. I think something needs to be done in terms of setting up a fund like there is for the manufactured homeowners, park owners, to fix up the infrastructure, or for the mobile home owners to bring their units up to code. But I think something needs to be addressed where people have put in like 50, 80,000 between their buying price, their improvements they've made to their homes, looking at the current value of their mobile home. If that unit can't be moved, what are the guidelines for determining what kind of compensation they get for it? If it has to be abandoned, if they have to walk away from it. That just seems horribly unfair to me, given that so many people are making so much money off of development. And I really think people expected that to be addressed in this document.
Thank you, Mary. We're taking that into consideration, and we'll make sure we pass your concern to the board members. I see another hand up. Dan?
Thank you. I just wanted to flag, I don't know what the immediate solution is, and maybe it's something that this is probably more of a process question as to where this goes after this, to either the chairs or to Tom. If this is going to the planning commission or not. There is the lack of, or I should reframe this. There seems the omission of compensating homeowners in some way, shape, or form on in terms of moving and or the value of their homes in the event of a redevelopment is wanting, I think, a bit on this. Because, you know, as a county, we have made policy decisions that have put some of these folks at greater risk because of the zoning. And so if you take Embark, you know, the land value of PennDOT Terrace now is significantly more than it was pre-Embark, right? So I guess where I go with this is perhaps it's not the charge of this particular task force, but it stands to reason that before that there should be the inclusion or addition or some kind of language in either this document or a motion that stipulates that this is something that we should pursue. And I'll
Yes,
just leave that open
yeah.
to the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've not been completely silent, but at the same time, we didn't want to make this document the guiding, like with a number, or we leave it flexible enough so when the cases come in play, there's a guideline on how to come up with a value or a number, a survey, and the outreach, so the planning commission and staff and the board members get to that conclusion.
Okay. Do we feel then, and I appreciate that, Solda, do we feel then that the contents of this document do that? And we can point to something specific, and where I go with this is twofold. Like just these two scenarios. There's only so much that we can control as like in my case as a planning commissioner, or others as staff, or as board of supervisors, so forth. At some point, the parks belong to the owners that own the park. So let's say that an owner decides to sell their park, and we have to make a decision, or the county has to make a decision on how the folks are going to be, what's going to happen to the residents, because there is a genuine economic need. I mean, a lot of the residents are wage earners and they're working in the area. There's a very clear and obvious economic need. These parks have very low turnover rates. They're very stable. So there's been a heavy investment, personal investment from these folks into their homes. Now, so do we say hypothetically, look, developer comes in and says, I will pay you, I don't know, $50,000 for the value of your home, $25,000, $80,000, I don't know, for the value of your mobile home. Or if the folks, residents elect to move, they can elect to move their homes at an agreed upon, transportation rate or something like that. I think that's the scenario I'm envisioning in my head. So working backwards from that, it's sort of like, what are the policy decisions or recommendations that we can make that would help the county make that determination. And maybe I was too long-winded and you've already got that in here. I didn't see it explicitly. That's why Mary's question did prompt that.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Mark give his comments and then I'll.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to actually, Mary, I'm going to agree with you. I think that this is this is an important point. And, I guess what I would say is, and I agree frankly with Dan as well, this is not probably the province of this committee, but perhaps as part of our transmittal, this is kind of one of the critical distinguishing factors of manufactured housing, is you have an significant element of investment in a home. It's just unfortunately the investment's not connected to the real property. And so you've got this tension where people have put their life savings, they put their efforts, all their hard work into building a home. The home's not attached to the land, and that puts it at peril. My view is there should be some recognition of the unique circumstance and a way to kind of try to remedy that within the confines of the law. And so I would suggest that we, as part of this request, and I guess this is going next to the committee, Affordable Housing Committee, suggest that staff conduct a survey of how other jurisdictions handle this. I know over in Maryland, there have been situations where you have to make it wasn't a lot of money, but it was a payment, usually equivalent to about 2 months worth of rent and some moving expenses. And those have been done in some jurisdictions. I don't know, I haven't seen this similarly over in a Virginia jurisdiction, but these people deserve the respect of someone doing that kind of survey to see what the information is out there and what can be done within reason to provide them some support as they encounter this kind of change in their community. The other question I think is behind that is just the question of, the tension. We're talking about if the property redevelops. Well, if we go too far, you have a situation where the property owner could just decide, I'm not going to release. And just no more tenancies and just kind of slowly whittle it down. So you got to find some kind of balancing where, you can have some ability to help people move forward, but within the confines of the law and within the confines of a transaction that makes sense from a financial and workable standpoint. So I guess that would be my suggestion is we suggest that the county staff study this issue and present options to the board.
Okay.
I mean, Soledad, I think as a matter of principle, we did start to outline some of these things in recommendation B8, which is resident displacement plan, where we actually made explicit that, and quote, if relocation of residents is unavoidable, consideration of the financial loss and other impacts to the residents should be part of the calculation for relocation assistance. So we did, I think in the past, it's been a while since we've addressed this. We have made those principles include them in this document. I guess whether this committee can go a step further than that, or leave that up to the board, or leave that up to a negotiation between the county, the developer, and whoever else will develop these sites on a case-by-case basis to negotiate. But I think the principle is put in this document under that section B8.
Yep, I agree with that. We created the framework here, but we didn't go into the details specific, because each case is gonna be different. Each community is different, so we didn't want to make it the same for everybody.
And
but I see. Yeah, Tom has his hand up.
Because each location is slightly different than the other, that would be something left out until we delve in deep. But obviously we can't, we can come close to having a ballpark thing that would address all of the locations, but it's never ever going to be a, what's the word I want to use, a complete fix, because all of them are slightly different than the others.
Correct. Thank you. Tom, you have your hand up.
Yeah. Commissioner Lagana had his up before me, Madam Chair.
Okay, sorry. Dan.
Oh, thank you. That was very gracious of you, Tom. I was just going to concur with Mark. I feel like too, like part of this is also just asking the county attorney maybe on like a legal opinion as well. And I don't know how you do that. If it's like, if you guys feel like we don't really need to add any additional language. I actually, what prompted this, and it was also my reading of B8, so may have had a little bit different interpretations, but I do think that this is that is, as long as we make it understood or we communicate it, or I guess Tom's probably gonna have also something to add here, that I'm comfortable with that. It's just it just seems to me the crux of a lot of what we're dealing with boils down to the fact that people are facing displacement. That's why we're all here. So I just want to make sure that we're hitting this and we're being, very intentional on how we work with this particular element. I would add this too: manufactured homes are just like housing in this country are valuable. I mean, it's one of the reasons why so many investment firms are sort of pieing around for mobile home parks. So there is definitely a larger question here, but I will shut up now and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom.
I think Mr. Vianney also got in front of me too.
I think actually Mary's ahead of me.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry, Mary.
Okay. Yeah, I'll agree with Mark that a transmittal letter would be a good idea to the board to say this needs to be investigated further, because we won't be able to do it tonight. But I think it can go further. I don't know why it has to be tied to individual mobile home parks. The units are worth different amounts based on what their value is. It's not a mobile home park issue. It's an individual mobile home issue that determines value, and that can be done by having some kind of a appraisal. I don't know how that happens with mobile homes, but they're worth something because of their location, because of improvements that have been made to them over the years, because of the initial purchase price. I mean, these things can be figured out. It's not a big mystery, and it's not necessarily based on the income of the mobile home owner. It's based on the value of the unit that's being displaced. So I don't know why that's not just something that can be done and sorted out. The HUD has developed guidelines for replacing property, whether it's a mobile home unit or a single family home on a piece of real estate, by eminent domain. This is not eminent domain. It doesn't fall under HUD, but the county could do a similar thing, just because it is responsible for the increase in value and the development of some of the mobile home parks. Therefore, it could make guidelines, it could make directions that for compensation of the trailers themselves. I know that is not in the state Mobile Home Act, but I don't know why it has to be. It can be something the county could do separately. I think you're trying to get proffers from the developers who are coming in, and you want to negotiate with them separately and see how much you can get. And I'm just saying that's the wrong way to go. The value should be based on the value, not on what you can negotiate with each developer coming in. Where you get the money for this, I don't have the answer to that, but I think that could be worked out.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, we're definitely going to emphasize that this was a big topic of conversation, that compensation needs to, it's up there in importance for the residents and for the members of the task force. Mark.
I would just say, I think we're kind of starting to circle the same points. And I think, as simply is, if we just in our transmittal letter suggest that staff study how other jurisdictions, handle these issues as well, that would be helpful. We're not the people who can decide this. It's going to be the board.
Yep.
Just that'll better arm the board as they come. That's all I had. I think it's time to move on.
Thank you. Tom, your hand's not up.
I think I concur with Mr. Vianney that we're circling the issue quite a bit. I would only note on this that in terms of raising this issue and emphasizing its importance with the board, we could either do it through a transmittal letter, or we can do it when we directly present it to the board in September. Okay. So there are multiple bites at the apple to be had.
How about both?
Yep. We can do that.
Soledad, I think there's a comment on the chat.
Yes, I saw a comment from Adela, and she's agreeing with Mary's comments about the effect that any change it's directly related to the people that live in these homes. So we acknowledge the comment from Adela.
And I think that concludes section D, and turn it back over to you, Soledad.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the legislative portion of it. But before I let Tom do the presentation, I wanted to present in front of the task force members a couple of things that came from our conversations with the residents that we think are two recommendations that are important that we add. the connection between landlords and residents to allow for rental assistance resources. And before I move forward, I want to make sure that Regina has that on the PowerPoint, on the screen. Yes, she does. So let me go back to my document. So new recommendation B9, we want to add, and we're labeling early warning for households at risk of facing eviction due to non-payment of rent. And this recommendation came directly from conversation with the residents that were concerned about some evictions and late notices. So we thought that the county could assist in doing some early outreach and proactive outreach with the park owners to inquire about delinquencies and connect the landlords and tenants to county services such as coordinated services planning. And at the same time, we thought that the landlords could also communicate with the county with coordinating services planning to alert them with delinquencies before evictions are sent to the homeowners that live in these communities. So we are requesting that we add recommendation B9, and the responsible agency will be the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. Does anybody have any comment on this new recommendation B9?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is Ken.
Go ahead, Ken.
So my question would be, was any of these unable to pay rent due to the virus, the pandemic?
So this is any reason why you're late in paying rent. You know, there are many resources that the county have to assist residents before the eviction notice get posted. So yes, it's COVID, it's loss of income, it's any other reason.
Okay. The reason why I asked, because there was a provision for the state had money for to cover those rent payments. I don't know that there's any money left, because I know myself I may have used a lot of it, but I was wondering, did anyone in a situation applied, or did they even know about it?
Yes, exactly. That's why we're addressing the issue here, because some of the residents may have not known that the funds were available or didn't know what the process is. And there's always going to be paperwork involved and filing of applications and others. So we thought that the proactive outreach will lead to a better outcome rather than the eviction notice. And I see Tom hand up if you want to chime in.
Just to close this out, Madam Chairman, if I could, we have had some significant successes using this model on a case-by-case basis. And I think the suggestion we got from one of the residents was a really good one, to kind of formalize that outreach and those connections with the landlords, and also to really build kind of two-way communication to help get out in front of evictions. So because to the point of the earlier discussion, a lot of times if a family is evicted for non-payment of pad rent, that means they're also losing their home. So but for a few months of pad rent, we could help ensure that there's not a catastrophic loss for our families. So just wanted to underline that as we move on. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Yep, thank you, Tom.
And Tom, you know my story, so I've created a great deal of expertise in this situation. If you need my help, reach out, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And a new recommendation C8 relates to auxiliary construction, decks, patios, etc. So as we all know, it's not the easiest thing to obtain a building permit in Fairfax County. So we thought that educating and connecting county staff to assist residents on navigating the regulatory process for any auxiliary construction that they want to do will be a great recommendation for this task force. Any comments on this new recommendation C8?
I have just one comment, Madam Chairwoman.
Yep.
I think they're called accessory structures that you're talking about primarily, as opposed to auxiliary.
Okay.
And the other thing is the fees can be very expensive when you go through county processes. So maybe there ought to be, I don't know, some consideration, consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that suggestion. And I do have a comment from Carla. It says that they do have information that sometimes the help is delayed or it takes a lot of time. Sometimes applications don't get approved. So she's making that comment on the chat. And that was related to probably, I'm assuming C8. Carla, is that related to C8 or B9? I'm not sure.
It was about B9, I think.
B9, okay. And that is, those are the two new recommendations that we're adding to the document. And with that, I'll let Tom give an overview on Section E legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to the section on legislation, what we had wanted to suggest effectively is a reaffirmation of the positions that have already been taken. The Board of Supervisors did take those recommendations seriously, and there was some progress in the legislature on them. There's going to be a study group on a number of these issues moving forward, but I think there continues to be a lot more that we can do. We are working closely with our legislative partners and will continue to track and communicate with respect to legislation and continue to take as many good ideas as folks have to try to continue to address these issues. I do expect moving forward that the manufactured housing community roundtable that's been recommended will become an important vehicle going forward for future recommendations. So just a very brief overview. I can tell you that we've already are already working to reiterate the original recommendations that you made in the board's legislative program. So moving forward on this, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mary, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that Tom has plans for further development of recommendations. I know there's a statewide group forming of a statewide coalition of some other groups that are going to recommend the legislation on the Manufactured Housing Lot Act. And it would be useful for the county to have a representative with that group to listen to their ideas and provide ideas. I think the legislative inputs that we had last year were very, very limited, and they could be expanded, and it would be to the advantage to listen to the input from some other groups and other areas who've been working on this for quite a long time. And there are a lot of things in that act that are really limiting on tenants. So I would also maybe add another recommendation that we work with other groups and look at other groups' proposals for legislative changes, and that we also consult with our Fairfax County legislators, some of whom have been very good about proposing legislation on mobile home parks.
If I may, I just want to note that that we're collaborating very closely with the county's legislative staff and with the and will continue to collaborate with the board's legislative committee on these issues. To your point about the statewide groups, there are kind of two of them forming. One is specific to the manufactured housing. The other was with respect to rental assistance for lower income families. And we are asking to be involved in both of those things.
I'm so excited to save the world together.
Could we add something to this point that indicates we're going to do more than simply through the recommendations that were made last year, as you've already articulated?
You know, I certainly think that the idea here is that those that our recommendations regarding legislation are kind of a living thing that will continue to evolve, using your original recommendations as the baseline. However, I certainly have no objection to adding in a bit of language which would simply say, you know, continue to identify opportunities to propose legislation such as may assist in expanding tenant rights in the manufactured housing parks.
Okay, that would be good, or maybe even work with other groups to identify legislation.
So, and certainly through our membership in a variety of industry groups, we will be doing that. But certainly, Madam Chair, I've no objection to adding a bit of language along the lines of what I've just described to E1.
Okay. We'll have that in consideration and add it.
Thank you.
I don't have a clap emoji right here, so here's my clap. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, so we're getting ready to move to the endorsement of the document. We've reviewed every section and we're getting ready for a motion.
I motion that we accept as is. I haven't seen anything that I'm, at least in my opinion, that has any problem. I think we're moving forward with a great chance to rectify a situation that has long been past due.
Thank you, Ken. I see Mark had his hand up.
I will second Ken's motion that we go ahead and accept that. I would say that reference just to make sure we get this nailed down. The document dated June 24th with the changes that we discussed, and I've been keeping notes here. D1 through D5, B9, B8, the language that will be added to E1, along with the transmittal recommendation that staff study comparable, how these matters are handled comparably in other jurisdictions as this goes forward to the board and their committees for their review. I would also say, and that's me seconding Ken's motion.
Do we need another second, or your second is good, Mark, since you're
my second is just clear. Ken, is my second adequately clarifying your motion?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay.
A motion a second.
Mary, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I would just hope the transmittal letter would say more than researching other jurisdictions. I think Fairfax County could be a leader in this, and it should instruct the county to take up this matter of fairness and compensation. And if they want to also compare different districts, but they should do it regardless.
Noted. Thank you, Mary. So we're gonna do a a roll call vote on this one to make sure everybody's voice is heard. So when I call your name, please say yay, nay, or abstain. I'm gonna start with Eric.
Yeah.
Eric,
Okay.
thank you. Dani Lagana,
Yay.
thank you. Elizabeth Larner is absent. Carla Claure. Carla, are you there?
Carlo, you're on mute.
We'll come back. Adela Barrera,
Yay.
thank you. Kenny Mendrano. Kenny, are you there?
Me?
Kenny Mendrano.
Oh, Montano.
Okay. Kathy Clement,
Yay.
thank you. Ana Romero was absent. Victor Rivera. He wasn't here either. Absent. Carlos Carrero. He wasn't here either. James Turner. Chris Ebert. Are you there? Are you on mute? I can see your name.
Chris, you seem to be on mute.
Josie Valdez was also absent. Margaret Johnson.
Aye.
Thank you. Carla Claure.
Aye.
Thank you. Ronnie Robbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Jill Norcross.
Aye.
Thank you. Ava Gwen.
Aye.
Thank you. Rick Edson. Ken Macmillan.
Aye.
Thank you. Mark Vianney.
Aye.
Thank you. David Levine.
Aye.
Thank you. John Boylan.
John Boylan, aye.
Thank you. Kenny Mendrano. Maybe she logged out. Did I get everybody, Regina?
Madam Chair, we didn't record your vote.
Oh, and I vote aye.
And the last, or Chris Ebert, we did not record a vote from Chris Ebert.
Chris Ebert, are you still here?
Or Rick Edson.
Chris shows as being on the call, but cannot communicate.
Rick is in a plane over the Atlantic texting me saying you can't hear him, but he says yes, he agrees. So I can.
Okay.
He wins the award for dedication, I guess. But.
We have, Madam Chair, we have 13 aye votes even without Chris Ebert or Rick Edson. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Regina. So we have motion carries.
Yes.
And thank you very much, everybody. Next item. Mark, you're there. Yes.
Say, I don't know, are we moving to close at this point or?
Close the meeting or close the vote?
I guess close the meeting.
Close the
Continue.
meeting?
Yeah.
Not close the meeting, not yet. Can you hear me? We're good?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to text.
Okay. We have a public comment period, 15 minutes. If anybody from the public wants to say any words. Anybody from the public?
I'll just start real quick. This is an extraordinarily complex matter. And it's hard to do in person. And it's hard to do in one language. It's extraordinarily hard to do under these conditions and, bilingually. And I think doing so was worthwhile and I think contributed well to what we're trying to do here. I just wanted to say thank you to all those who participated, particularly to their two co-chairs who did a lot of work I know involved in this, somewhat thankless, and also the staff and Tom and his staff for all they've done for this. I think it's been a good first step and look forward to seeing what comes of it as it leaves this committee.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anybody else before we do our Leslie? Yes, Jamie too. Yeah, Carla says she didn't hear her name when I call her name for the vote, Leslie, but I did call her name after. So in my closing comments, I also wanted to say that I thank everybody that came night after night, every Monday, every month. It was an incredible honor to lead a task force that's bilingual, where I can use my Spanish to communicate with residents that in many cases have never been heard, and that now after we gave them their hand, feel like at least they have a voice and they know how to reach the county. So I hope that we keep the conversation going and the outreach going on every opportunity, hopefully not only land use cases or on cases that affect the homeowners and tenants, but outreach in general to the population that are not that English is not their first language. It's not only Spanish, but there's many other languages too. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure working with you, and the document that I think we've produced will be very helpful for any future uses and outreach and communication with this community.
Yo quiero conocer, mucho gusto.
Gracias,
Madam?
Kenny. Gracias, Ken. Eric.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Soledad and thank everybody who participated in this process. This was the exact reason why we did not want to come up with these recommendations during the Affordable Housing Preservation Task Force, is that we thought that the right people weren't at the table. And I think this was a good effort to try and address that. And thank you very much for everybody hanging with us for the last 10 months or so that we've been doing this. Thank you to county staff. This, I think, starts the ball rolling forward, but it is a start. And I hope that this is a start to addressing the many complicated issues about equity in housing. So thank you very much, everybody.
You're welcome, Garrett. Eric.
Don, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a few, I have a question and then just a few comments. The first question is about process. So what is the process for our recommendations going forward? Can we just restate that?
Yep.
So everyone knows what's going to happen.
Yep. So we are going to present the recommendations in the fall to the Board of Supervisors Housing Committee. If there's anything else that you want to add to that, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we will start this summer by visiting the board members individually to brief them on the recommendations. We'll transmit the recommendations to the board as a whole, and then we will have the board housing committee in September. And then from there, the various component pieces of these recommendations will begin to be implemented.
Okay.
And Commissioner Lagana, if I may, forgive me, it's late, but forgive me. I just wanted to note that, you know, anything that's associated with land use, of course, would go through the normal land use processes, including as appropriate, the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
No, that's great. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate it. Now, I'll probably reach out again. I know that fellow planning commissioners would love to hear about this, and you know, this in some way, shape, or form got started on the commission when Ray's came through for the what we, you know, it was a plan amendment in a very particular way, and there are a lot of objections that came up both from the residents and from the my fellow commissioners, and just really appreciate the responsiveness and the work that went into providing the recommendations. So thank you all, and I really appreciate it again.
Thank you. And I'm going to read a comment from Adela. She says, thank you to each one of you. We feel supported and we feel part of the community, the Fairfax County community. Thank you, Adela. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything before we finish the meeting? Tom, your hand's still up.
Yes, just very briefly, a note of thanks to a number of folks from the staff. Number one, I want, on behalf of the Department of Housing, I want to thank our partners in the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services, Land Development Services, Code Compliance, and most especially the Department of Planning and Development, who have been our partners hand in glove all the way on this. And I'm so grateful to Barbara Byron and her whole team, who have been just terrific to work with throughout this process. Second, I want to offer a very special thanks to Regina Coyle and to Teresa Lepe from the Department of Housing, who have done yeoman's work, sort of stepping in and working on this process. And I couldn't be more proud of their work. And finally, if I may, I would like to offer a very special thanks to our co-chairs, who were patient and wise and really helped us get to the right place in terms of how to develop these recommendations. And it has just been such a pleasure for us as staff to work with you. And also, I want to thank all of the members of the committee, of the task force, forgive me, who've given so much time and thoughtful input to this process. So thank you very much indeed to everyone, and very much want to tip my hat to our friends who are resident home parks, and for them giving their time and the benefit of their lived experience as we work together to develop these recommendations. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, I will echo everything that Tom said. Thank you to staff. They are working in the background, doing all the work. So thank you so much. Okay, and with that, we are ready to conclude the last meeting of the Manufacturer Task Force. Do we need a motion, Mark? You're my expert. No? Okay.
Motion to
Okay.
close
Awesome.
meeting.
This is Dan Lagana, second, Mark.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. All in favor, say aye, and we can disconnect. Good night.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Welcome.
Thanks all.
Bye.